What's up, Vetters? Patrick here with Vetted. Today I have a very special video. This is a project I've been working on for months, and it's about the Nazca Mummies. Please hit that like button, Vetters. That really helps out the videos. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Now, let's jump into this. The Nazca Mummies have been a hot topic of debate, with Joe Rogan being one of the most prominent voices to support it.
Whatever that is, like, there's not a chance in fucking hell that people back then had the ability to fake that.
But some aren't so sure of their provenance.
What do you make of the tridactyl mummies in Peru?
Right, so I've always been outwardly critical of them.
And others have been supporting it.
The Nazca Mummies, I mean, what's interesting about it is that obviously you're going to have a big knee-jerk reaction to something that's so incredibly profound as the idea of these being non-human intelligences that are mummified. But when you actually look at the CT scans and the X-rays, you start to realize that this can't be faked. You can't fake bone cartilage. You can't fake capillaries and heart valves and a fetus inside the body. So
It's so nuts.
dude, it's crazy. Some of them have eggs inside them. Some of them have fetuses.
And some are outright convinced it's the real deal.
And Jesse Michaels actually went down to Peru and actually saw those things and handled them in person. And he said it was fucking surreal. He said they are real creatures. Whatever they were, it is a real thing. And they look exactly like an alien.
But in this video, I'm going to be covering an aspect of the Nazca Mummies no one is talking about. Something that, if true, would change the conversation around the Nazca discovery. And more importantly, humanity forever. I've spent months doing interviews with people directly connected to the Nazca Mummies. Journalist Joyce Mantilla, Dr. Jose Benitez, Dr. Roger Zuniga, and one of the most important voices about the Nazca Mummies you've never heard of. His name is Gonzalo Chavez, in what is his very first interview ever. And what he had to say is at the center of what my video is about today. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You have a good day, bro.
All right, man.
Thank you.
All right,
You
bro.
have a good day. Bye.
What the fuck? Holy shit. And like I said, no one, and I mean no one, is covering the revelation about the Nazca Mummies that I'm going to cover in today's video. But in order to tell you this story the right way, I need to give you a little background first. In 2017, a series of small desiccated bodies surfaced from the Nazca region of southern Peru, an area already famous for its ancient geoglyphs. These specimens, covered in a white powdery coating, displayed elongated skulls, large eye sockets, and hands and feet with 3 long digits. The individuals who presented them named several of the figures: Maria, Josefina, Montserrat, and others, and described them as dating between 1500 and 2000 years old. Initial CT scans and X-rays appeared to show continuous bone structure, unusual metal implants in some cases, and in one instance, what were described as embryos or eggs. Promoters of the finds, including Mexican journalist Jaime Maussan and the media platform Gaia, arranged for analyses in laboratories in Mexico, Russia, and Canada. Reports from those studies suggested that a significant portion of the DNA recovered did not match known terrestrial species, and some researchers argued that the anatomy would be difficult to fabricate convincingly. At the same time, Peruvian authorities, forensic archaeologists from the National University of Ica, and the Ministry of Culture conducted their own examinations. Their published conclusions state that most specimens are composite constructions. The 3-fingered extremities are assembled from human, llama, dog, and bird bones held together with modern synthetic glues. The outer layer consists of animal hide or gelatin-based paste coated with diatomaceous earth. And the skulls are authentic pre-Columbian human crania that originally exhibit culturally induced deformation, carbon-14 results ranging from the 3rd to 5th centuries AD confirm the age of the original bones, but not the age of the final assemblies.
Peruvian scientists have confirmed supposed alien mummies are in fact dolls made from bones. The dolls were originally seized in the capital Lima in October last year. Scientists say there is no truth to the theory aliens helped build ancient Incan landmarks like Machu Picchu, calling the ideas fairy tales.
The case has remained divisive, and this is just a word of skeptics as well, right? Supporters continue to present new specimen and testimony, most recently in sessions of the Mexican Congress in 2023 and 2024, maintaining that at least some of the bodies are biologically genuine and warrant further open scientific study.
Creo que hay una demostración clara de que nos encontramos ante ejemplares no humanos que no tienen relación con ninguna otra especie en nuestro mundo.
Critics, including the majority of academic archaeologists and the Peruvian state, classify the modified mummies as recent creations made from looted ancestral remains, a practice that violates national heritage laws. If true, of course.
Nos quedamos con reflexiones, con inquietudes y con la ruta de seguir platicando sobre esto.
As of late 2025, no consensus exists within the broader scientific community that any of the Nazca tridactyl specimens represent a previously unknown species or non-human intelligence. Investigations continue on both sides, and the debate serves as a vivid example of the challenges that arise when extraordinary claims meet the rigorous and often slow process of scientific verification.
Scientists in Mexico pulling back the curtain on what they believe are aliens and put two of those corpses on display. Take a look. These small mummified specimens were unveiled at Mexico's first ever UFO hearing yesterday. Yeah, it looks like E.T. You're right. The alleged alien corpses were found in Peru. They're believed to be 700 to 1,800 years old. They only had 3 fingers and elongated heads. X-rays of the aliens were also shown, and experts say one of the bodies has eggs inside of it. Maybe we could have alien babies.
A lot going on in Peru.
Yeah.
Right. So is this real? Do people believe this?
I don't know.
As Leslie Lopez says, we want DNA samples.
Yeah. And then we're eventually going to find out that aliens look nothing like we think they look.
No.
It look nothing like E.T.
It looks like a stone carving. It really does.
It does.
What is that?
I don't know.
The DNA analysis of the mummies have been a focal point of controversy. Promoters, including journalist Jaime Maussan and researchers from the San Luis Gonzaga National University of Ica, claim the genetic data points to non-human or hybrid origins. Skeptics, including Peruvian forensic experts and independent geneticists, argue the results reflect degraded, contaminated, or manipulated samples from terrestrial sources, consistent with the mummies being modern fabrications from human and animal remains. One interesting example from an analysis done in 2017 by the Lakehead University Paleo DNA Lab concluded that analyzing bone and tissue from early specimens, the lab found 100% human DNA. In fact, they were surprised when Maussan cited their work in 2023 congressional hearings, as the results contradicted alien or non-human claims. The lab noted the sample's ancient degradation, but no extraterrestrial or non-human signals. And they went on to say, to conduct the analysis, the Paleo DNA lab was given a bone fragment and brain matter that Fra Piero said looked like chunky dirt. In addition, they were sent a photo of a body and a photo of 2 elongated skulls with enormous eye sockets, but not the actual bodies or skulls. In its examination, the Paleo DNA lab discovered something else significant. Both samples were very damaged and may have been contaminated with modern DNA, probably while they were being excavated, stored, or shipped. Handling samples can definitely contaminate them, Fra Piero says. When we get bone samples, we try to remove surface contamination. However, we can't always do this completely, and we can't decontaminate brain samples. There is a second possible reason for the contaminated DNA. The samples could have been a hoax, Fra Piero says. In fact, Maussan and his followers have previously been accused of combining human and animal bones to construct creatures they claim are alien or supernatural, such as the demon fairy they brought to the public's attention in 2016. After the Paleo DNA Lab submitted their results to their client in 2017, they heard nothing about the Nazca case until it went public at the UAP meeting in 2023. Something exciting, though, could be a collaboration with Colossal Biosciences, the firm behind de-extinction efforts like the woolly mammoth, for full genome sequencing of select mummies. So, if new credible footage emerges from ongoing Colossal Biosciences sequencing, it could shift things. But as of now, nothing has happened. Ben Lamb, the founder of Colossal, said this on November 5th. To be clear, given Colossal computational analysis capabilities and ancient DNA extraction protocols, we would be happy to do sampling and analysis, but only if the Peruvian government approved and wanted us to do so. We are currently not working on it, but are happy to help if asked. And here's Ben Lamb explaining a little bit more in detail.
Jesse Michaels, I don't know if you know.
I heard of him.
Yeah. So he's an awesome guy, super smart entrepreneur, tech guy. He's got a YouTube and a podcast now, and he's working on these tridactyls. Have you gone?
Dactyls. No,
have you
I
gone
haven't
in these
explored
Peruvian mummies?
No.
Have you gone down this rabbit hole?
Interesting though.
You got to go down this rabbit hole.
Peruvian mummies. So mummies actually existed back then?
Yeah. So there are these mummified bodies, right? That I think it's like tridactyls.org or something. You can find it. It's very easy to find. And so like Jesse called me, right, and said, hey, have you seen this tridactyl thing? And it's basically, there are these humanoid figures that have been found in Peru. And there's a little bit of controversy and craziness around it, but there are these humanoid figures that have 3 fingers versus versus like having what we have.
Yeah.
They're shorter. I mean, they look straight out of something out of like Close Encounters of that's exactly what they look like, right? And so it's crazy. So there's all kinds of like conspiracies around it and whatnot, which is interesting. But Jesse called me. He's like, man, I've done a lot of research on this. I spent a lot of time and a lot of money. We've done MRI studies. We've done all this stuff. It's like, and this is Jesse speaking. He's like, I believe they're real. And I was like, well, yeah, like Jesse's a smart dude, right? And like I know him pretty well. And so I was like, well, look, it's ancient DNA because they think they're about 10,000 years old if they're real, right? I don't know if they're real. I can't claim that because I haven't seen the data. And I said, well, look, if you can get the right permits to export them to us, we'll totally like sequence them, right? And so this goes back to that pop culture thing. It's like some people would be like, oh no, that's controversial, or that sounds like aliens and weird. Like that, like you're a science company. Why would you do that? But I just believe that we don't know everything, right? And we learn new stuff every single day. And so I told Jesse, I was like, look, we have an ancient DNA lab. We arguably have the #1 computational biology lab in the entire world. And so if you can get us the samples and bring them in the right way, because that's another issue with samples, right? You need to go through the right chain of custody. You got to make sure that you have government support on both sides. Right. And if you can get that government support from the Peruvian government, because there's been some controversy around this where they don't, not everyone that's taking samples out of Peru had that permission. Yeah. So as long as we have permission from the government, people want us to do it, sure, I'll go run it on our state. We have the top ancient DNA because, one situation is it's something crazy. Another situation is it's fake. Another situation is it's some weird mutation around a population of humans. But no matter what, that's still interesting, and it's minimal work for us to do. Yeah. So I'm a big believer in just looking at all that. Like we get all kinds of crazy stuff. We and I shouldn't say it crazy, but I mean I'd probably say weekly we get like Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yeti emails. It's like I've got this. Sample, can you sample it? Yeah. We can't sample all of it, but if something like Jesse calls us,
credible source.
Yeah, it's a credible source, and like we either know them or it's had some level of scientific rigor. We do it, so that's probably like a fraction of 1% of what we do. But that kind of goes back to just like we're pretty open-minded at Colossal. We try to, and we take a different approach to all the sciences.
Respect, honestly.
But this is a big but. The most interesting thing I found out about these mummies is that they're still alive. That's right, you heard me right. They're still alive. There are mummies running around right now, alive. Tridactyls, alive.
At 3 a.m., a light in the window. Now I am looking up at him, an alien. At 3 a.m. At 3 a.m.
Recent claims from Peruvian huaqueros, tomb robbers, like Leandro Rivera, who reportedly told researchers he glimpsed moving figures during digs. Similar anecdotes appear in Gaia TV specials and Jaime Maussan's presentations, where witnesses describe pale, three-fingered beings fleeing lights in caverns, sometimes linked to UFO activity. And even Gonzalo Chavez, the man who helped me get the interviews I'm going to be showing you part of today, he said they're still alive. He confirmed it.
Everyone's focused on different parts of this, of these mummies, these tridactyls. But I want to focus on something different that I find the most interesting about all of this is just the stories that, some of these beings are still alive.
More than likely, we're still dealing with live organisms.
So I interviewed Dr. Jose Salce Benitez, featured here in Jesse Michaels' documentary, to ask him about the live beings. The response was interesting. After missing a few interviews and keeping me waiting about 30 minutes for this one, he finally showed up, and I got to ask him, are these beings still alive? Because in my mind, if there are live tridactyl beings, bring one of those out and end the charade right here and now, and let's put an end to this and prove it. Once and for all, that would be a mic drop moment.
Algo muy interesante que yo he escuchado de esto es que todavía están vivos algunos y que la gente los ha visto vivos. ¿Eso es verdad?
No sabría decírtelo, por lo menos yo no tengo registro de esto, y en los estudios y en los análisis que hemos hecho, pues no hemos encontrado ninguna especie o ningún espécimen que haya sido encontrado con vida. De todos los cuerpos que nosotros hemos estudiado, de todos los cuerpos a los que se le han tomado muestras y de los que hemos hecho estudios y análisis, todos están muertos y todos tienen una antigüedad superior a 1000 años. Para los que dicen que están vivos, pues como lo mismo que tú dices, que los presenten, que los vean, que los graben, que los muestren al mundo. Eso a mí no me corresponde, yo no he visto ninguno, me lo han comentado, pero yo no he visto ninguno.
So the good doctor denies the existence of these tridactyls still being alive, which sounds like he's distancing himself from it. Because how would he not know? He is heavily involved in this. So why the discrepancy? Who's telling the truth? Just another layer of mystery to fog up the window of truth. I already released my interview with Dr. Roger Zuniga Aviles, where he claimed a lot more about the mummies that will be released in the future. Beings with wings, beings with a shark fin-like piece on their head, even a giant being. Well, only the skull. And the most shocking is a being resembling the creature from the movie Alien. That's right, a sharp-toothed, tail-wagging, elongated, skull-looking motherfucker. And honestly, that time has come. Here's some examples. The big head, that's out now. And these beings with the long tails and the elongated skulls and the fangs and, all of that. They've released some images already. And coincidentally, the guy that brought forward the big head is the same guy who discovered the mummies to begin with, and the same guy who claimed to have seen some of them alive. And it turns out that big head is manufactured. It's fake.
Sent us several photos and videos of a huge humanoid head that he claims is authentic. He has been telling us about it for months. In the images we received, we can see a huge skull covered in diatomaceous earth. It measures 55 centimeters in height and 1.60 meters in circumference. But is it a real skull? Mario says it is. However, this curious relic gives me a strange feeling. It looks more like a mask than a mummified head. I asked Jose to discreetly investigate Mario and ask him to wait. If we can recover this head, and if it is authentic, it will undoubtedly be of great cultural and historical interest.
My interview with Joyce Mentia was good, but it was all about stuff you've seen in other interviews, except this part, where he talks about Colossal and their involvement. Of course, we now know that that hasn't happened yet, and probably won't be happening anytime soon. Hopefully I'm wrong.
No sé si has escuchado del laboratorio genético Colossal.
Ah, sí, Colossal Bioscience o algo, ¿no?
Colossal Bioscience,
¿no?
exacto.
Eso, sí.
Colossal Bioscience, que ha traído a la vida un lobito que estaba extinto hace más de 10.000 años.
Yeah.
Colossal Bioscience
Direwolf.
tiene el Direwolf, claro. El Colossal tiene una planilla, un grupo de científicos del más alto nivel y están interesados en el ADN de los seres tridáctilos. Obviamente, si ellos están optando por este interés es porque han tenido ya acceso a cierta información que les da las pistas de que estamos tras algo muy interesante y único.
Yeah.
Ellos no van a lanzarse a una piscina que no tiene agua.
Sí, no, estoy de acuerdo.
Ya entramos en contacto y vamos a ver qué fluye.
A ver si van a intentar no sé, hacer lo mismo hacer lo mismo como el Direwolf, ¿no? O sea,
sería alucinante.
So, are these beings real? Well, remember when Jesse Michaels mentioned Michael Mazzola, one of the people behind the documentary about the Nazca Mummies? This is not a hoax?
Catastrophic disclosure is happening in Latin America.
Thanks to our amazing friend, Michael Mazzola, who's coming out with an epic documentary on the mummies later this summer. That documentary is going to be called This Is Not a Hoax.
Well, the documentary hasn't been released yet, and I think I figured out why. Michael's film follows Josh McDowell and his father, and after reviewing some things Josh McDowell has said recently, I don't think the McDowells are convinced one way or another that this isn't a hoax, which would render the title of their film, This Is Not a Hoax, hard to release, right?
There were some people in Peru that were claiming that these bodies were fakes. Did you find that they were fakes?
Not at this point. They're real. We can touch them, we can feel them, we can examine them. Our examinations are somewhat limited by the positions that the bodies have come into through the mummification process. And also, as you know, they're coated with diatomaceous earth, which makes it difficult to directly visualize the anatomic structures.
These bodies, unfortunately, were not found by the so-called classical archaeology, and that has created this problem for so many.
I think that's true. It would have been ideal if they'd been seen initially and identified for what they are, archaeologic artifacts, to get well-respected, knowledgeable, competent archaeologists to come in and collect the remains in the proper way, transport them so that they're not damaged, and then, as you've mentioned, keep them in a storage facility where degradation is not likely to occur.
And we don't have a location, and so the archaeologists haven't been able to go and research and do digs to look for other things. Is there ceramics? Is there tools? Is there some form of writing? Is there something of that nature that we could look at to learn more about these bodies? And that site doesn't exist. I don't think we'll ever find it.
Well, that's too bad, because it seems like that's a central, it would be a key element of unraveling this mystery. And not only that, but because there is no site to examine, it also opens the door for skeptics to claim that this is a hoax. I've heard that, these might have been made during modern times, that they're not actually ancient. What do you think about that?
Well, we have to keep an open mind. We know that there are some, let's call them bodies. I think bodies is a liberal use of the word, but I'm going to say bodies here. There are some bodies that have been made or just put together.
At the end of the day, look, make up your own mind. I want to give a special shout out to Gonzalo Chavez for helping me set up these interviews. Honestly, I couldn't have got those interviews without him, so big props to him. And make sure to follow his account for updates on the mummies. I'm going to put a link down below in the description to website and everything so you can stay up to date on this.
Everyone's everyone's focused on different parts of this, of these mummies, these tridactyls. But I want to focus on something different that I find the most interesting about all of this is just the stories that, some of these beings are still alive. Right. That's what I'm most interested in. So like, what do you know about that?
Once I got to get to know the professors like Dr. Zuniga, and then getting to talk to people who work with the Incati Institute, they would basically Incati Institute, people from Incati would tell me stories that they've had. So one of the instances, they felt like they had some sort of communication, like they were driving to the discovery site, and all of a sudden their phone was going weird. And to them, that was an indicator that they were being surveilled, And so I've heard instances of music. They've heard music coming from discovery sites or near where the supposed discovery site is at. And it's supposed to be in the middle of nowhere. So that's when I was well, this is more than likely, we're still dealing with live organisms. And then if you read Thierry Jarmin's book that he released about the discovery, he spoke about the grave robbers and people he got to know that actually know the real discovery site, talking about seeing live beings still walking. What you hear though is it's cave systems, and they're finding them in caves. From what I understand, it's actually tunnel systems in the Nazca, Palpa, and Ica region. And so that's or it sounds like there may be underground tunnel systems that lead to an undiscovered underground city, which if you've listened to our ancestors, they talk about that, there's underground cities. So yeah, that's how basically I started learning about live beings.
When we say the live being, which ones? The three-fingered, taller beings, Montserrat and Maria and all this, those type of beings?
Yeah, so the most common ones that they seem to have been getting reports are the 60-centimeter tridactyls, which are the most controversial ones, and then the human-like tridactyls, which are Maria, Montserrat, Santiago, and those. There's this guy who is a engineer and paleontologist. His name is Klaus. He was basically taking people to the desert to get it protected as a heritage for UNESCO. And he said that when they went there at night, him and a team of archaeologists were just discussing their plans, and all of a sudden a UFO basically hovered over them, and it landed, and creatures that, which he said looked like Maria, came out of it and basically told them, we thank you for trying to protect our, where we live, and we've lived here for thousands of years. And he said this was in 2014, so it was 3 years before the Maria specimen was discovered. So when that specimen was discovered, he was that looks exactly what I saw visiting me when I was trying to protect this desert, because they were trying to apparently make the desert into a racing area.
Is he the one that was doing a presentation with a big projector screen behind him? And is he a self-learned paleontologist?
Yeah, so according to him, his hobby was always doing paleontology.
We told them that they had elongated heads, very similar to even Maria. Before Maria existed, before Maria was published. But what caught our attention the most at that moment when we were observing it was that from both sides, some sort of luminous balls began to emerge. We counted 14 in total, and they started to leave in different directions at very high speeds. Then I realized that they were two beings. They were obviously not human because they had a long head. That is, it was a round head that ended a little in a point. They were thin, with very long arms that reached almost to the knee. I estimate that they were around 2.20 to 230 meters tall. I do not come from the ufological or extraterrestrial world. I dedicate myself to my hobby, which is paleontology. And I have tried to see the shape of the heads they had. And they were very similar to the heads we see in Paracas. It was a head elongated backwards, very large eyes, big eyes. The neck was also elongated. They were very big too. 2 m 20, 2 m 30, I calculate. long, very thin arms, and it looked, as I said, very much like the head that is here on the right side. It was like they were completely white. If they had any suits, I don't know. Good. In those telepathic communications, there were many messages. First of all, don't be afraid, we are brothers. The first thing that was told to me was, we know who you are and what you do. Well, when I ask them where they come from, they tell me that we lived here thousands of years ago.
And then when it comes to the 60 centimeter pterodactyls, what I hear is that they tend to come out at night, that they come out from like the underground. And when it comes to like the human-like pterodactyls, I hear basically the same thing, but they also talk about coming out of water sources. So it's basically like the same thing we hear in the US, which is like they're transmedium, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So we're talking the biggest, tridactyls, and then the really small ones. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So we're talking about the ones that were shown in the Mexican Congress that people say are Llamascos and stuff.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And then,
So some of those are the ones that were shown in September 2023 at the congressional hearing in Mexico City are the ones that are coming out at night, you're saying?
Yeah.
Got
Same thing with human-like pterodactyls.
Which
Is
one?
that
Say that
these
again. I'm
beings
sorry.
are, like the ones like Maria, Montserrat, Santiago,
Got it.
Sebastian. Yeah, those are apparently people. From what I understand, these creatures come out at night.
This is shocking, dude. This is like so crazy. So when you were talking earlier about they're hearing music and stuff, are you saying that those are the grave robbers playing music, or the tridactyls playing music?
Yeah, so I understood it as the tridactyls. So they're like going inside these tunnel systems, and that they have their own type of like music.
Oh my God! So they got like a little band.
If you read a book called El Mensaje de Nazca by David Blasco, he basically traveled across South America, talking to like, because his idea was like, look, if these specimens are real, people who are like, living ancestors of Nazca people, all these tribes that supposedly coexisted with these beings, he would have oral stories about them. So basically, he started doing that, and what we end up learning is that these specimens are said to be here, like basically forever. From what he learned is that there was a time, like it gets wild. Okay, so this is basically his research. There was a time before the moon, and then the moon arrived one day. All of a sudden, there was like a global catastrophe, floods and stuff, destruction, and these beings came and they like started teaching people, after the disaster. Some of them went to go live in the ocean, some of them went to go live underground, and some of them went to go live in the moon. And it like basically the oldest writing that he could find that was written was by the Spanish. It was a manuscript where this man describes being inside his house. He was like some sort of priest, and that all of a sudden there was like, he said like the sun came out in the middle of the night, and he went outside of his house and he saw these beings, the tridactyls, the human-like tridactyls, and that he got scared, went inside his house, tried protecting himself, and they just left. But he like wrote it into like a manuscript about this incident. And according to David, it seems like this manuscript, he wrote it in third person rather than trying to say it was himself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then anyways, so he continued on this journey. He found like there's some manuscripts that talk about a Incan king who had a meeting with Viracocha. And if you've like understood, Viracocha is described to be basically like a 60 centimeter tridactyl, the controversial ones.
Yeah.
And that this being came out of the ocean. It landed right in front of him and had a meeting with his friend, with this king. And this king was shocked. And he couldn't sleep for days. So he asked his people to like make a statue of this being. And that this statue was made out of pure gold. It was on a bench that was also made out of pure gold. And then when the Spanish came, they saw this like statue and like bench, and they took it with them. So what was logged was like the weight of gold in like the statue. I mean the bench, not the statue. So there's like logs of the Spanish finding evidence of these beings when they were like, during their conquest of the area.
Wow.
Yes, so they've been here for hundreds of thousands of years.
So it's not that they branched off from humans, it's that they're their own original race.
Yes, that's how I see it. Like, I know that like the researchers discuss, like Jaime's team, like that I talk to the most, will talk about hybrids. Same thing with the Ingati Institute, they'll talk about like hybrids.
Yeah.
I personally don't think they're hybrids. I personally think we're just dealing with like a different species that evolved parallel to humans, and they've just always been here. And like according to like these oral stories, like the moon is like an artificial structure that these beings make, and that when they need to like reset the world because I guess we're being bad, they just move it, and then it causes like catastrophes for us.
Oh shit! Wait, okay. So they created the moon, and then
that's according to their oral legends.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So according to their legend, they created the moon. It's an artificial structure, and they can control the moon essentially to, like you said, reset Earth. And you said some of them live on the moon, at least according to their
that's what according to their lore, there's like there was a war between two brothers of these beings. The winner went to go live on the moon, and then the loser decided to go live in the ocean and underground.
How are UFOs involved?
So it's always like that's been the part that honestly has been the most surprising to me, because a lot of people who like claim to see these beings also describe like ships. So mostly I've never heard anybody say like, oh, it looked like a Tic Tac. I just hear like, oh, it looked like a disc. Like they don't talk about other shapes outside of like a flying saucer.
Got it.
Or orbs. Those are like the two things that I hear the most coming from like associated with these beings. But I haven't heard like, oh, it was a Tic Tac,
Yeah. So orbs and flying saucers, or flying discs.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh wow.
Because we have like hundreds of people studying these specimens now.
Yeah.
Like actual doctors, and they'll send me like, oh, I discovered this. Did the researchers know about this? And I'll ask, and sometimes they haven't. It's like, I'm just like, I became like the middleman, so I'm like getting so much data. If that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. You're like, one of those trade cities back in the day that everything went through. So the idea is that they're still alive, living in these, underground tunnel cave systems in Peru. Like, how many are we talking? Like, is it still like a whole full-blown working civilization, or are we talking it's a small group that's survived?
I understand it as a full-blown civilization.
Unidentified submerged objects, right? Do you think some of these, USO sightings are from maybe these beings, these tridactyls?
That's what I believe personally.
I'm fascinated by this aspect to it, just because everyone else is focused on every other part of the tridactyls. This is an interesting angle for me, because I just think, well, if they're alive, let's get a live being. Let's capture one and bring it out, and that will prove all the other ones that you have that are not alive anymore, right? That have been preserved. Is there any effort by anybody, even if they're not connected to Jaime Maussan, just anybody, is there any effort to go try to, maybe capture isn't the right word, but like Jurassic Park style, like go get some of these beings and bring them to the world?
Who I think would probably be the most successful in doing that end up being the Ingati Institute, just because, in my opinion, they're way more ahead of like the efforts of Jaime and them, just because they are actually doing boots on the ground research.
Yeah.
So if anybody actually ends up finding a live one or recording a live one, it's more than likely going to be them.
Again, just thank you for your time, man, and talking to me.
Yeah, brother, you're welcome. It was nice talking to you, Patrick. You take care, okay?
Awesome.
And if you have any questions, you're always free to text me. If you need help, if you go to Peru to go see the specimens, you're free to text me and I'll help you. So you're free to reach out, and I'll try to help to get access to the body so you guys can go, okay?
Awesome, Gonzalo. Really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest
You're
of your
welcome,
day.
man. You have a good day, bro.
All right, man.
Thank you.
All right,
You have
bro.
a good day. Bye.
What the fuck? Holy shit. What? Wow. These things still alive, y'all? I mean, Gonzalo seems convinced, and he's a good guy. I can tell he's just a really genuine good guy who really believes in this. I don't really know what to think anymore. There was a big part of me that just thought this was all bullshit. I don't know. I'll just say I don't know. I don't know, but this is fascinating. If they're still running around in an underground civilization, playing music, living, they're thriving, a whole civilization underground in these tunnels. Yeah, so many more questions. There's so much more to this. Should I next year try to go see these bodies and maybe ask more questions about the live ones? I think I need to make a trip to Peru next year. That's what I think needs to happen. Wow.
At 3 a.m., a light in the window. Now I am looking up